Hello and welcome to our latest episode of SportTokz with Sport Profs. This is an office hours edition, as mentioned, with a very special guest today. Someone who in her young career has not only had a chance to wear many hats, but also many helmets as well. But I would have to say that her claim to fame is that she was my former student in second year in RTA Sport Media and the Sport Journalism course. Without further ado, everybody, a big welcome for Ailish Forfar. Ailish, welcome.
Thank you. So weird not having a good audience, but hello. Thank you for watching.
Well, listen, it's great to have you here. I'm interested in knowing, you recently graduated, and yet, I mean, this is a virtual pandemic type of graduation. What's the pandemic been like for you? What's your graduation been like in this segue into the real world?
Oh, very different for sure. I actually graduated, I guess, May, and I was working full time for Yahoo Sports Canada, then lost that job, went unemployed throughout the summer, which was like a very weird time, moved home for the first time in years to live with my parents, made a mask making business with my mom, which was really fun. And we were making masks and donating them, and then came back to Toronto where I live now, was employed again, lost that job and got employed one more time. So I feel like I'm in the boat with a lot of new grads that are getting job opportunities that they're excited about, but because of the pandemic, obviously losing those. So it's just about kind of having that fortitude that you're going to find something great for yourself, but also finding ways to keep busy, like making masks with your parents. So I've done a lot in the last year and actually haven't graduated fully and had a ceremony to kind of wrap it all up at my time at Ryerson. So looking forward to whenever we can do that and see each other in real life.
Yeah, I bet. Wow. So that's what you would call a whirlwind right there.
Very much.
I just want to pick up on this point about, moving back home, making masks, this project that you got into, and kind of what drove you to do that?
Yeah, so my mom and I have always had a very fun, creative relationship, and this is actually my second university degree, so I'm 26 years old. So it's been a while since I lived at home, and so when the pandemic hit and I was no longer needing to pay and be downtown in Toronto, I decided to go home. And earlier in this year, my aunt actually passed away in February from what we think was COVID. She had a lung infection that came. She was living in the United States. And so we believe it was COVID. Obviously, at the time, it wasn't really a known thing what COVID was. So when she passed away, she had all this fabric. She was like a diehard quilter, sewer. And when she passed, she gave all this fabric to my mom and I. What else is there to do with it? So we actually decided to create this company in her honor. It's called Cotton, a Pandemic, but the word cotton, but it's like a pun on cotton, a pandemic. I don't know, I'm very punny. So we started making masks, and obviously there was a huge need for masks at this time, and handmade masks were kind of a special way to honor her and have all this fabric that was hers. And we decided to donate one mask with every purchase. So we got a little bit overwhelmed. We ended up selling, as of today, over 5,000 masks, my mom and I. So we've donated. We haven't been able to donate all 5,000. Obviously, that's a lot of masks. We're probably at the 3,000 mark for donations, but we've been very busy. We sell them on Etsy. And so during all this, I was also job searching. I was also moving back home for the first time in years, which is kind of overwhelming. And looking for opportunities to continue my professional career, but also doing something on the side that was really nice for my mom and I to honor my aunt. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple months, but I learned how to sew. So I mean, if I can take one thing from this, I can fix a seam, or I can hem pants. So we're all good on that front.
That's awesome. And where can our students find the masks?
Yeah, so if you go on Etsy, or if you find any of my social channels, it usually just has the link there, but you would type in Cotton, a Pandemic in one word. That's the name of our shop title. And we have thousands of different fabrics and prints, and you'll see my mom and I's little message to everyone. So we're probably going to take it down after the new year, because it's been months of this, and my poor mom is hunchback at the sewing machine. So a couple more weeks to get your orders in before the holidays, and then we probably will take it down, but she's obsessed with it now, so she might continue.
Okay, awesome. And you talked just now about, your professional career and professional
Mhm.
opportunities. We talked off screen about your time with Sportsnet. You've worked everywhere, Sportsnet, TSN, The Score, Yahoo Sports. You've also worked for
Yeah.
the Maple Leafs and the Blue Jays in different
Mhm.
places and different roles. So I was wondering, do you have a single favorite area of media or sports that really excites you more than others?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really fortunate to work at a lot of these different industries and different like agencies in terms of sport media. But the best thing about that is I think I've been able to kind of work on my own skill set. I didn't, when I graduated from my first university degree in English, like I thought I was just going to be a writer, just going to work on, writing. And my first job with TSN was in marketing. So I really didn't know what that was going to bring. But that kind of like open the world in terms of the opportunities ahead. So I would say like my favorite meshing of all the things I'm passionate about, whether that's on air, whether that's being creative, using social, and writing would have been Yahoo, which was my first full-time job. So I had a 1-year contract there actually during my senior year at Ryerson. So it was a full-time job, full-time professional athlete, and full-time student. It was kind of crazy, but they were the best opportunity for me at the time to grow as a writer covering breaking news, but also being able to do, my own features, like a lot of flexibility there. And I hosted shows in their studio, which was like state of the art studio. So a lot of creative freedom for myself to be myself on camera and have that fun personality. Whereas a lot of other industries, if you want to be on air, you're kind of on air in this box at times where you're very professional, which you should be everywhere, but maybe you're reading from a script, or maybe you're not able to show your own pizzazz. And that's something that I think I have. And so being able to work at Yahoo gave me the opportunity to host like really fun shows like Let's Leaf, where we just like rip on the Maple Leafs and be a little bit fun and show my own personality, but bring insight and bring analysis, which is obviously important in the sports world. So Yahoo definitely allowed me to cover all those bases. And now moving forward, since that job ended in April, I think, wow, what is it? The time and days of this year is just like a blur. But that was my first time being like fully unemployed after a full-time job. So I look at that as being a really good stepping stone in terms of things I learned. And now when I got that job at Sportsnet with NHL Chat Room, I was able to use some of the skills that I developed at Yahoo. So they would have been the best like starting place for me. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And I think it really made me more well-rounded. So yeah.
I mean, amazing, Ailish. There's so much there just in terms of developing your well-roundedness. I mean, you talk about, hey, I'm a full-time student, I'm a professional athlete, I'm working in the biz. Um,
Yeah. That's my athlete coming out.
Amazing. I mean, it sounds ambitious perhaps to some, but how were you able to kind of build up to this point where you're managing career, playing wise, media wise as a student, and deal with that? I think there's some great insights to share that you can sort of look at that and try to tackle all of that at only 26 years old.
Oh boy. I mean, it certainly isn't easy. And I think I was very fortunate coming from, I went to a Division I NCAA school where I did my first undergrad, and it was also an Ivy League school. So
I
education
just
is,
want to mention, we are allowed to mention Dartmouth on the
okay, I went
program
to
because we've been
Dartmouth, but
cryptically speaking. We can't say that.
anyway,
Anyway, please.
I went there, and I think that was like the biggest challenge, but also the biggest learning experience for me, to be a full-time student where like the academic pressure is very intense, but also a full-time athlete. So learning how to time manage and set like realistic expectations for yourself. And I did that throughout my first undergrad, which was, learning curve. Like that was, I'll be honest, the first time I probably like had anxiety and realized, wow, like you can't be perfect in every aspect of your life and expect greatness in everything. How do you learn how to fail at times? And I think that was definitely a hard lesson to learn. But when I was able to graduate and be really proud of myself and think like, hey, look what I accomplished. It's not always going to be easy. You're going to have highs and lows, whether that's in your performance as a player, in your performance as an athlete, or as a student. You just need to realize like when you make a mistake or you're not able to exceed or find what you're looking for, there's a lesson in that. So when I came to Ryerson and became another student athlete at a high education level, like in this amazing sport media program where I'm also playing professionally, like you can't do all of that and be perfect all the time. So being able to set, as I said, meaningful, boundaries for yourself and learning that there's a lot of people that want to support you. And Dan, you were one of the first people that I think I realized at Ryerson was more looking at me as like a human and not as a student. Like, I want you to exceed and get an A in this class, but no, I want you to also find fulfillment in what you're doing, because there might be times where you're like, do I really want to be in this industry? Like, it's stressful. There's no jobs. Like, everyone says that journalism's dying. And sometimes you get overwhelmed as a student, think like, why am I taking this program? But then there's wonderful professors and support systems, and you need to be able to rely on them. And like, it might be an ego blow at times to be like, I need help, or I need to like go to counseling to help me structure my life better, or like time management is so hard, but people are always there to help you. So I think that was the biggest realization as someone that's like me, like gung-ho, like I can do everything. Sometimes you can't do everything. So think about what's most important in your day-to-day, like your own mental health and finding like your own positive growth as a student, as an athlete. It's all the same. So I mean, there's always people that want to support you, and you just got to look out for them and lend a helping hand to others as well. Like, I've been able to help a lot of young students coming up because I've been through it. And I think it's really important, like when you get to be an alumni, or I guess, wow, it's the first time I've used that, that you find that platform to help others, because they're all going through this kind of crazy period right now as well. So long-winded answer. I don't know if I gave you what you're looking for on that one.
Just poetic. I mean, there's,
oh, thank you.
Well, I love it too, because it's real, and it's just, we can't always just sugarcoat everything. Like, I think you point out that there's this reality that you're trying to find your way and make a name for yourself in an industry that has a great deal of volatility to it. And you've experienced it firsthand. I mean, it's, you're trying to get a foothold here. So, with all the lessons, whether it be, how you handled being a student athlete, a pro athlete, working at the same time, and recognizing that there are moments now where you even acknowledge, hey, I'm out of work right now and I'm looking for opportunities. Like, how do you personally manage that uncertainty when you look at how you deal with it?
Definitely, I think so. As a disclaimer, the job with Sportsnet was a weekly show I was hosting with Steve Dangle, and it was like my first time working for Sportsnet, which is obviously somewhere I could see myself hopefully in the future. So I felt a lot of pressure, but also was excited for the opportunity. And when they put the show on pause now because of the pandemic and because there's no NHL season, obviously you feel a little bit disappointed at first, but you look at the growth you've had in that role. You think about what you've learned as a media professional. Obviously, it's a completely different environment to be hosting these virtual shows, which is something we never really would have had the opportunity without the pandemic. Like, everything was in studio and you're learning that way. So I obviously was a little bit taken back at first, upset, but at the same time, I think, okay, there's going to be another opportunity for me. How do I grow in this meantime, whether that's 2 weeks of unemployment, whether that's 2 months, hopefully not much longer than that. So whether that's working on my demo reel or networking with people, or just taking some time to breathe and realize like this is a really crazy time that we're all going through, and hopefully we never have to do it again, but like take care of yourself as well. And definitely, I think as someone that's been busy all the time, whether that's being student athlete, whether that's been working full time, you definitely push aside taking care of yourself, taking care of your friends and your family, because you're busy. So this could be a good time to reconnect with that. And then also to think about, why am I in this industry? Obviously, sometimes when you lose your job or you see others, like, people getting laid off all over the world in this industry, it's stressful, but you think about when you're working in the industry, how much you love it, like covering sports, covering hockey, especially for me, talking to other athletes is my favorite part of the job, and bringing energy and especially for women's sports, like trying to get us up to that same level as men's sports in terms of coverage. Like, I feel like a personal responsibility because I'm an athlete. Like, I want women's hockey to be at the same level as men's hockey. So in this meantime, when I'm unemployed, what can I be doing on? What can I be working? Who can I be talking to get that ready for when that next opportunity comes? So take some time to appreciate what you've done, whether that's graduating, whether that's just living through a pandemic, but also think this time is valuable to, lay out what's next and to reconnect with why you're passionate about this industry.
I kind of want to stay here for a second on gender diversity, which is what you just brought up. We're living in a time now where there's a cultural reckoning that's going on in the world, whether it's racial diversity or gender diversity, and it's certainly impacted journalism. It's impacted media all across the board. We've seen it, come to fruition over the past several months. In your experience, having been at several sport media outlets, do you think that there's enough being done to foster gender diversity? And if not, what needs to be done?
I would say certainly not. And most of the industry, or most of the places I worked at, I think I can confidently kind of put that label on them. In terms of being a female working in the sport media industry, it's hard to articulate this, but sometimes you feel like you're just being hired because you're a female, and I do get that feedback quite a lot, and it's hard because I know I'm experienced, I know I played at the highest level, I know I have a great resume, which we talked about, but there's definitely times where you think, am I that placeholder? Am I the token female that's going to host this show with a way more intelligent man just to make things look even? Or, I got a job writing for the Maple Leafs when the season relaunched as a staff writer, and I was really excited about that opportunity. But then I started doubting, like, did they hire me because I'm a girl? And it's hard to look past that, but it's something to acknowledge because that's where we are. And I feel like a lot of companies now are really hiring like people of color, hiring people that are LGBTQ, hiring women, and it's a really amazing thing. But I just don't want that to be a phase, right? Because we've talked about how important changes are. Sometimes you respect the change, but you're also bothered by it that it's taken this long to see the equality that needs to happen. Like being a female in a male-dominated world, playing a sport that's very male dominated, like I've always felt kind of like second fiddle, right? And so that's why, as I said earlier, like I really want to try to make strides for that. And there's a lot of companies that are trying to do that. Like, for example, the GIF, that's a really amazing, I think they have a Ryerson connection as well, where they're trying to make media accessible for females. And I did my practicum, wow, that was a while ago, on closing the gender gap with women's hockey, and the dream gap is what we called it, and we did a whole investigative journalism documentary on women's sports, and that was like the most passionate I've ever been about a school project in my 8 years of university, because I felt, as I said, like a personal responsibility to not let this just be a phase that we went through in 2020 of hiring all these different types of people, because I really think when you have that seat at the table, things will make a meaningful difference in your life. Like when I was at Yahoo, there was 3 females in the entire company for the Yahoo Sports Canada, and now there's 0 because they've all been laid off or left. And I find like that really bothers me, and I don't know if people see that, but like I know that there's no female voices right now in that room, right? So how are they able to just like be well diversified in terms of the content and thinking about people that are going to consume their content and people that maybe not follow them now, but might want to follow them in the future. So I think having like as much diversity as possible is so important. And I hope that this isn't something that comes and goes with 2020. It has been really important changes we've seen, but I also feel like keep it up, like there's like pressure that it's not like, let's just let this happen and then we'll go back to only hiring white men. Please don't let that happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really, a really strong and courageous and insightful take on that situation from living that and from experiencing it. I mean, to that point, this week we saw, Kim Ng be hired as the first female general manager in Major League Baseball. How did that resonate with you? I mean, just on the surface, because I know you're saying, hey, let's hope this isn't tokenism and that we've just kind of brought in one person to say that. But I mean, what do you feel like is going to really drive the change that you're so passionate about?
well, obviously your first impression is like how incredible it is. And then you read some of the comments, right? And like, I know people say don't read the comments, but sometimes it's important to see like, if the people in the room are making these decisions, that's amazing. But how do we inspire the thousands of trolls in the comments to actually like realize that this is important, meaningful steps that the MLB took, for example? So I was so excited and proud to like be a woman, to share that on my own platforms, and to like, maybe someone sees my post and they're like, oh, that's crazy, there's never been another female. Like, how do I educate myself? So I think, it's not on just females to do that. It's not just on people of color to advocate for, racial equality. It's not just on LGBTQ people to advocate and to educate. So it's on all of us. So actually, I saw a lot of my white male friends sharing that post and saying, this is amazing. And I'm like, that's what I want to see, right? I don't want to just see girls sharing stuff about girls and people of color sharing stuff about people of color. It's more about, how do you realize that this impacts you if you're not a female? Well, because maybe you'll have a daughter in the future that's going to see this and be like, oh, I could also be a GM, or I could strive to be a professional hockey player, make a living wage. So I think it's about trying to show people that we're all people, and this should be something that affects you, whether you identify as that or not. So seeing that, I have seen meaningful change, I'll say. Whether people are just sharing it to share it is one thing, but to see them at least making the effort to read an article or to put it on their own personal page is definitely inspiring. So that's like, I mean, as someone that's looking for more meaningful growth, that's step one for sure.
I think you're right. Keeping the conversation going is the
Mhm.
most important thing, right? The fact that we're having these conversations, and the goal is to keep it going. Are you hopeful for the future in that regard?
Definitely. I know I didn't mean to sound negative. I mean, I'm so obviously inspired and proud to be working in this industry, but at times, like, you also need to be not happy with crumbs. And I think I've realized that as being a female in sports, that like, sometimes you get something and you're like, okay, we finally got our first sponsorship. We did it. And it's like, let's get more sponsorships. Let's get more people to buy in. Like, let's not just hire one, let's hire 20. Let's find ways to inspire my future kids and, people that are watching this that are students that are unsure what their future is. Oh, I've never seen someone like me in that position. Well, like, go out and get it. So I think I look at it as, I'm happy, but I can always be more pleased with where we're going. And I do think we're trending in the right direction in some industries. And I think we're starting to have those conversations, but like, let's keep them going, and let's not be happy with, women's hockey got a $1 million sponsorship the other day, which was incredible. First time ever, like, secret sponsored the PWHPA for $1 million. And we all celebrated as a member myself. But then it's like, how do we get that next million? Like, let's not settle, right? And I think that's the athlete in me coming out. Like, you hit your personal best, or you have a really great game, but like, let's grow on that, right? Let's not just like retire. So I'm always inspired to do more.
Well, I mean, I think that comes across, whether it's in your mask making or taking on multiple different roles while, working full time and studying and being an athlete. I mean, just to chime in on that too. I mean, here what I'm seeing is just this passion for change and wanting to make a difference, but also recognizing that it's a collective effort, that it's up to everybody, including the main gatekeepers, those who have the decision-making ability to make some real decisions. I mean, as it pertains to opportunities, and recognizing that we all have to kind of be in this together to work to level the playing field. To a group that hasn't generally had opportunities, who are working hard to gain notoriety and gain attention for the sake of saying, hey, can we get some opportunities here, please? And then you start to see those opportunities. It's using that hopefully as a springboard, as you say, for more, where the current gatekeepers are also recognizing this and saying, hey, maybe we do need to look in the mirror and reevaluate how we've been doing things, and not necessarily, I mean, of course, the push and pull with the bottom line and what makes money and how we market things. I mean, you were certainly a part of, a situation, a little more than a year and a half ago, where you were a professional player, and that opportunity ended up getting taken away just due to a bottom line and decisions with you as a member of the Markham Thunder with the CWHL. I mean, what When you look back on that now, a league that had so much hope and promise that ultimately never really quite realized its potential and becoming defunct. Looking back on it now, what's kind of your biggest takeaway from that experience?
I mean, I only sadly got to play for 1 year, but in that 1 year, I realized, I think it kind of circles back to what we were just talking about, that we were maybe settling. My salary, I was a second round draft pick, kind of a big deal. My full-time salary for the entire year was $2,000. And I was a professional hockey player playing in the #1 league in the world. And I was a second round draft pick. So it was $2,000. Didn't get, sticks, didn't get a lot of things that you would just assume you would get as a professional athlete. But I was obviously so excited for the opportunity. The year that I played was incredible. We had fans, we had young girls coming to the game, and that's all you want to see. It's like young girls and boys coming and cheering for your team and buying your jerseys and buying your merch. And also, like, you basically had to pay to play. $2,000 is not enough. I would have to drive to Markham 3 times a week in my own car, pay for my own gas. But at the time, I wasn't thinking like this is a problem. I was like so overjoyed to be even playing hockey at that time. But when the league folded, I think the players all kind of came together and thought like, all right, we don't want to be greedy here, but were we really getting what we deserve? Like, we are at the pinnacle of our performance. These players are world class, not me, but all the Olympians on my team, like, they represent our country at the Olympics. You can't get any better than that. And I'm playing with them and I'm looking up to them and I'm seeing girls in the stands looking up to them. And then the league folded and you think like, where does that leave that next generation? So that's why the PWHPA formed, which is the Professional Women's Players Hockey Association. And it was like, we're going to honor the people that got us to the CWHL level, the 12 or 15 years that the league ran, and the fact that we even made money at all, like, that is amazing. But as I said, what can we do that's even better for the future? So I think it did take losing that league a little bit for us to realize that we weren't getting all that we had deserved, I think. Obviously, like, being able to be in way more markets, like being able to travel to a place that doesn't really have women's hockey that's accessible. Like, I grew up watching NHL only. So like, who is my idols? Men. I'm not a man. So like, I want to be able to see women on TV that play hockey as a young girl. So then I see myself being able to play hockey. So getting just some sort of sponsorship deal on TV, whether that's, 1 game a month. Like, we had 2 games in the entire season on Sportsnet. And I mean, I feel like that was bare minimum. And then waiting every 4 years to see women at the Olympics, like, it isn't good enough. So I think that's why we're at this point with this kind of dream gap tour that the PWHPA is doing, where they're realizing right now we don't have what we need, but like, let's try to get sponsors. Let's try to get our word out. Let's try to build on, the backs of the people that got us there. Like, we're not going to disrespect what the CWHL got us. Like, I got to be a professional athlete. Like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, I never thought I could do that. But I also think, like, when I have a daughter one day, I want her to be a professional athlete, not have to work 6 jobs and, pay for her own car to get there and pay for her gas. And like, my practice time was at 10:30 at night on a Tuesday and I have to go to school the next day. Like, we can make it more of a dream for these girls who want to play in. So obviously, I think, losing in the moment when the league folded, terrible. Like, I can't imagine ever having to feel that shock again. But look what we've done in the year and a half since. Got $1 million sponsorship from Secret. We've had showcase tournaments all across Canada and the United States, like Arizona, places that we never had been able to play before, like growing the game at these grassroots levels, having clinics for girls, and being more accessible as role models is all you can ask for. And so there has been progress, and I'm excited to have been a part of that. And, it wouldn't have happened without the CWHL, but we can do more and be better, as what is like the whole message of my entire talk, I guess.
I think the role model part is key. I mean, like you said, when you see yourself represented, it just does something special for you. And you mentioned you grew up watching the NHL, which is men. So when you did see young girls in the stands, watching you play and buying your jerseys, I'm wondering how did that make you feel? Like, what was going on in your heart and in your head?
Like, I'll be honest, I was a 4th line grinder. Like, I know I got 1 goal. That's it. Like, I wasn't an impact player, but it was like my responsibility to show up to the rink and be a positive role model for these girls. If I played 4 minutes a game or 12 minutes a game or didn't get any, there's times I didn't get any ice time. I didn't even care. I just wanted to be there because I never had that opportunity growing up. I actually want to show you something that I got today, which is great timing. Sorry. These I've been searching for everywhere. These are the Tim Hortons Barbies of female hockey players, a blonde girl and a person of color. So amazing. I have been hunting these down for literally weeks. You can't find them anywhere. So it just ties into what we're talking about, is like, now girls can play with hockey Barbies. Like, that is so cool. I hated Barbies because they were like these girls. I didn't look like them. I was a tomboy. Like, I was, playing boys AAA. Like, I thought I wanted to be like my brother because I didn't know anyone other than the Olympic team every 4 years. And what do you do in the other 3.5 years? Nothing. So for sure, playing and being able to just like sign autographs for girls. They didn't even know who I was. Like, what number were you? I was 11. And they're like looking for number 11's card. And like, they don't know who I am, but I signed their autograph, and they went home with something really cool and a meaningful opportunity to meet someone that is playing professional hockey, whether they're good or not. They were there. And even young boys, like, that was a part that even got me too. Like, I mean, there were probably people's brothers that they brought out, but like, we had boys teams come to our games, and like, that is really cool. We're like their little NHL that they can go to for $5 instead of going to a Leafs game for hundreds of dollars and not being able to interact with the players. So even just being able to talk to young boys after, it was the best. It was the most meaningful part of my entire season. I don't even care if we won or lost any games. Like, the fact that I got to actually meet young girls that wanted to be like me and I have so many photos, not on the ice, of me like in the dressing room after with young girls that wanted to come in, or, we got to do youth practices and we went on the ice and like did, stupid little drills that weren't like that hard, but they were so excited to be on the ice with us. We actually got to go to China, which was so cool. We got to go to play the Chinese team for a week and a half. Got to go to China mid-season, mid my time at Ryerson, so that was good. I'm doing my assignments on the plane. But we got to go to China, and, that's a country that is trying to develop their hockey program. There's accessibility now. There's a Chinese team that lived in Shenzhen, and they were able to go watch girls play hockey, which is so different. I mean, we're lucky in Canada, like, everyone's playing hockey, play hockey on a pond whenever I want. But in China, not the case. So them growing the game at an international level, like us being able to go inspire people in another country, like the entire way around the world, was so cool. So, I mean, you can tell, like, I get excited to talk about it because that is the most meaningful part about being a pro hockey player or being a role model, is like, you have a responsibility to care for the next generation because you want to leave it even better for them.
So, Ailish, first off, so where did you get those Barbies?
I'm going to try to do this. That's better.
Yeah,
I'm getting blinded. Sorry.
Where did you get the Barbies?
Oh, a secret, but I went to about 30 different Tim Hortons in the GTA, and my parents live like north of the city. They went to Tim Hortons up there, and they only have the blonde Barbie in stock because, I don't know if you knew this, but Barbie was only going to launch one Barbie, and it was going to be this girl, the blonde white girl. But then Barbie got in trouble because people were like, well, where's our person of color? Like, I want to be represented, obviously. And so they had to quickly dispatch this girl, and there's like none of her left in Ontario because they didn't obviously make as many as the white blonde girl, which really bothers me. So my friend works at the Hockey Hall of Fame, and they got a special like shipment in because they're going to put them in the Hall of Fame, which is really cool. And so there's a Tim Hortons in the Hockey Hall of Fame that got kind of an extra amount, and so she got them for me, and then I went and picked them up at the Hockey Hall of Fame. So I think I was really lucky to get them. I'm not sure if many people watching this will be able to secure them as much as I did, but you're supposed to be able to buy them on Walmart and at Toys R Us and at Tim Hortons locations. But this is the key one, and she's not very accessible because they didn't make as many. So yeah, I'm holding on to them. I'm not going to open them up. Hopefully I have a girl one day that will play with them. But very exciting that they did decide to do that. Unfortunately, they had to kind of roll them back to make a person of color Barbie. Like, I don't know why you weren't thinking that in the first place, but Anyway, that's another topic
That's
for
a
another
great.
time.
That's a really interesting story, and I'm glad
Yeah,
you
it was
get
very
that.
upsetting.
Yeah, and I suppose as the collector, you will definitely want to keep those in their original
Oh
packaging.
yeah,
They'll go
very exciting.
right on your mantle next to all of your various awards.
People are
So
selling them
cool.
on like eBay right now, and so there's $29 each, but people are selling them for like $100 each because they're already collector's items, and people are already realizing that they're going to be, one of a kind. So it's exciting, but I'm going to keep them and not profit off of them.
Hey, Ailish, I just kind of want to finish it off here, and just
Mhm.
to summarize, we have an audience here, students, people trying to, figure out how to navigate their way through. I don't know if we ever fully figure it out. I know I've got 20 years on you, and I'm still figuring out how to navigate
Mhm.
my way through. But for someone who's come so far, in such a short amount of time, and clearly living your dream while dealing with all of the things that we all have to deal with during a pandemic and otherwise, what sort of advice would you offer in terms of getting to where you want to go in life?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really fortunate. I mean, a lot of this is hard work, but a lot of it is, the networking and the connections you make. So never turn down an opportunity to like lend a hand to somebody else, not thinking about how is it going to help me in the long run, but just to be a kind person, because this industry definitely needs more of that. And I've learned that, there's a lot of people that really want to help you, whether they're older than you, they're the same age, or they're a new grad. Like, I will extend my information. Please let anyone in this class reach out to me if they want to know more about my path. But I've been really fortunate to have people that want to help me as well. I didn't do everything myself. I can't take the credit for anything but just working hard. And then the rest of it is good timing and good fortune. So, sometimes it doesn't happen right away, and it can be frustrating, and you can have the best demo reel, you can have the best personal website, you can have like just pages and pages of stories you've written, you can be writing your own, you can do your own podcast. Like, I see these Ryerson students, like, they are so talented. Like, it makes me nervous. They're going to come get my job. But at the same time, I want to help them and boost them up. So, keep doing everything you can to stand out, because this is a very competitive industry, and it can be daunting, but at the same time, continue to remember why you want to be in this industry, whether you're an athlete or you're a fan of sports or you're a fan of the stories that sports bring. Like, that has been the best part about being able to be in this industry, is telling stories about why sports bring us together. And for me, that's what we need right now in a pandemic, and always. So think about ways that you can just help the world around you, whether that's storytelling, podcasting, a YouTube content show, like anything can help, and you can get that break so easily. Someone can see your stuff. You can have a cool TikTok channel, and all of a sudden, you get an amazing opportunity. So never think anything's beneath you. My first job was at Five Guys Burgers and Fries, and I'm not afraid to say it, because like, sometimes you just need to be humbled. Like, here we are, and I have a great resume, and that's also not on my resume, so that's a little secret. But that was where I started. Like, life isn't just mapped out for you. You have to go up and down through these moments, and right now we're all realizing that in the pandemic. But just keep working hard, be true to yourself, and things will happen the way they should. And if you keep working hard, they'll end up in your favor. So any time that anyone needs to reach out about questions, not about Five Guys Burgers and Fries, but anything else, I'd be glad to help. So I hope this was, somewhat inspirational for everybody.
Oh, that's too bad. I was going to ask you about the pickles.
No,
Anyway,
no, I don't want to talk about it.
I just play. Well, thank you for being so real and honest and sharing your stories with us. And I will say that, it's fair to say you will be going down as the first overall pick on Office Hours.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
Anyway, it's just a total pleasure reconnecting. Thanks for taking the time today. On behalf of Senor David Singh, over my esteemed co-host, and myself, this is the latest episode of Office Hours, Sport Talks with Sport Profs. We will see you next time.